Welcome to Mediaspace Members Daily. We bring you exclusive interviews from our leadership group and other professional influencers within the media GovTech community globally. Today I have with me Glenn Hodson, founder and CEO of Free Trade Europe, an independent think tank that focuses on the Nordics, Baltics and the Netherlands. Hi Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Great to be here, Lavina.
The digital media space and platform economy in general is of more significance now. What do you think the key challenges are right now?
I think there's a number of challenges that we're facing at the moment. I think one of the biggest things is the issue of education and looking at the kind of the outdated labor market models that we have at the moment. I think the business has moved ahead. I think some of the policy and I think some of the laws are still to catch up. And I think this is one of the challenges that we're facing. We're also seeing a lot of issues linked to trust as well, particularly when we look more broadly at the platform economy and people and consumers. Do they really understand it? Do they have the trust to be able to use it? So it becomes from something that's quite niche towards something that's more mainstream and that the rest of the population will be using. So that's one of the things we will look at. I think we need to kind of learn some of the lessons of some of the early adopters, the likes of Uber, who have probably made things more difficult than it should be for some of the newer players, but to learn, accept the problems, learn the lessons of the past, and to go forwards to address the issues of reputation, treatment of workers, and quality of service. A lot of these things that we need to look at and be taken seriously.
Has COVID-19 and the crisis brought any new opportunities?
I think it has, in fact, Lavina, as well. I mean, we just the fact that we're talking now on a Zoom call, the way in which sort of technology has actually moved on, has become sort of mainstay and part of everyday life. And kind of one of the advantages of distancing and quarantine is the fact that people have had to use more digital processes, get more familiar with digital channels and digitalization of work, of consumer activities and interactions more generally. So I think this is something that brings us forward. Now we see people sort of having discussions like this. People are working remotely much more with bigger teams and remote teams, but also doing things like ordering food online, ordering services as well as goods as well. So we see this sort of this bringing into all elements of society and the broader digitalization piece as well, and a lot of the efficiencies that this brings as well. So, you know, the saying is never waste a good crisis, and I think that one good thing can come out of this terrible time with COVID-19 is to be able to work smarter, work more efficiently, and actually get technology working for us as individuals, as consumers, and workers as well.
What are your recommendations in terms of the most urgent actions required, and who do you think should be taking them?
In terms of the recommendations, I think there needs to be there's a certain responsibility on companies and operators to be able to bang the drum in terms of what's happening. So educating consumers, politicians, other stakeholders, the media, in terms of what's actually happening. So that's a big part of this. I also think for some of the reputable players, a code of conduct at the national level, I think, is quite important to have certain rules of the road, certain ethics and responsibilities that good companies need to be able to follow. And that's in terms of how they treat consumers, but also how they treat their workers. So ensuring a fair treatment, fair salary for work that's being done as well. So I think that this is something that will need to come out of this too. And I think linked to that is the idea of kind of companies coming together, be it trade associations, groups of companies, organizations, and associations who will need to actually work together with the public sector and the private sector to look at what is the solution that can be achieved towards mapping out the present, but also the future. I think we see that more and more technology will be used, but we need to get some rules of the road. And I think that all parties need to be involved in shaping this future so it's beneficial for all. And I think that's something we're looking at the moment. particularly when we look at sort of the platform economy, we're looking at sort of maybe 5% of the population at the moment are using it regularly. There's so many opportunities there. We need to do this right for it to go from being something that's kind of in the corner and niche to something that's more center and really in the field of play for the majority of the population.
Thank you, Glenn, for joining me today. It was insightful to hear your viewpoint. Stay tuned for the next episode of Mediaspace Members Daily. In the meantime, connect with us at mediaspace.global.